Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. Here at Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I am Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer here at the Center for Victory. With me again is one of my faves, our faves, Mr. Dick Singer, Vistage Chair Extraordinaire, and he is one of my favorite people. I don't say that lightly. Welcome back, Mr. Singer.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I think we're going to talk about leadership today, and you always have good advice for everyone. And if you could just leave us with a few more nuggets today to think about. I know you're probably going to have a quote for us to start out with. We'll start there and run.
Well, something I always talk about when we talk about leadership is, or management even, is that you really, it's more important to be respected than it is to be liked when you're in those kinds of roles. And Peter Drucker really put it very well. I saw this a couple of days ago. If your goals are larger than your need to be liked, then you will reach your goals. If your need to be liked is larger than your goals, then your goal will become the need to be liked. Peter Drucker. And that really sums it up. I mean, it's not about being liked, it's about being respected as a leader, which means that you've got to make decisions that may not sit well with people, at least at first. But the leader is there to make the tough decisions. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Now, have you seen, well, I know you have, but have you seen where that's gone wrong, where the leader needs to be liked? You know, can you give some of us an example of that and what that looked like and how it turned ugly?
Well, I don't know if it turned ugly, but I can tell you about, and I've seen this happen on much more than one occasion, but where leaders need to be liked got in the way of them actually leading their people. And they were afraid, number one, they were afraid to lose friendships. They were afraid of hurting people's feelings. And they were, they were afraid of not having everybody agree with what they see or what their vision was. And that, that's a recipe for disaster. It's pretty simple. If you operate that way, you're probably not going to get much done. And the need to have total collaboration or total agreement from your staff on a decision that's being made is not really effective. It's not an effective way to run a business. I think you may have seen Peter Schutz. Did you see Peter Schutz when we had him? Peter Schutz was the CEO of Porsche. And he passed away a couple of years ago. But one of the things that he said, which has always stuck with me, is that you should decide democratically, implement autocratically.
So what does that mean for people that might not have gotten that, what you just said? I mean, I get it because I've been around you. I've gotten a lot of good tips from you and these speakers that we've had, but what does that mean to the practical leader trying to put that into play?
I think what it means is that you've got to be willing to listen to other people's points of view. I think you have to be willing to have people disagree with whatever the decision is, so that it's not just coming down from the top with no discussion. I think it's really important to have those discussions. But at the end, when all is said and done, a decision is made and it's got to be implemented. And the only way to implement it is autocratically.
Okay. And then, with going back to that quote, if I'm more aligned with being respected over liked, what does that do for the leader in that type of situation?
I think it creates more accountability for the leader. I think they're the people that are their followers, so to speak, will be much more apt to follow the leader. It's not a question of being buddies with people. It's a question of getting people to do their jobs and to perform at their peak. And if you're more interested in being liked, I think what you're going to find is that people will slack off. Deadlines won't get met, because if you want to be liked, you're not going to hold them accountable.
Mm-hmm. And there's probably not a good, if you're being that type of leader, there's probably a good chance that they're going to do that with the people that report to them as well, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, the leader is the model. You're the model for the people that work for you. And what is the saying that we have? You get what you tolerate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're going to tolerate non-performance or non-accountability, that's what you're going to get. And that's going to become the culture of your company.
Yeah. And then, getting into this, do you have an example of somebody who does this very well, that you could give the audience here to say, hey, look, this is what he or she did or has done or is doing currently, and this is the outcome?
Yeah, I'm not going to mention names, obviously, but I have one member who is completely on top of his numbers, knows exactly where every proposal is, and is able to just walk into somebody's office and say, where are we on this? And his employees, and by the way, and this really makes a good point here, because if your employees respect you, there's a much better than even chance they're going to like you. But if they just like you, they may not respect you. In this gentleman's case, his employees have a lot of respect for him because he holds them accountable. He is fair. He is honest with them, and I think for the most part they really like him. Mm-hmm. He cares about the people that are working in his business, but they know he cares. But at the same time, they also know that they have to perform. That's just the way it is. They have to perform. And
what I see too, but I'm asking you, but that equates to a high performing team.
It does. He has a high performing team.
Yeah. All right.
And he's taken a pretty significant hit during this pandemic. But he is so good with his numbers and so good at projecting that he has not, I don't believe he has let anybody go. People may have left, but I don't think he has not laid anybody off for that.
Now in
fact, let me just add to this. He actually has hired people during this pandemic.
Wow.
Because he was smart enough to realize that there's going to be some really good people out of work.
Yeah.
So he went out and found them.
Good. Yeah, what I was going to say is kind of the last point here with this whole pandemic. You see a lot of people, you field a lot, you particularly field a lot of questions from leaders, high level leaders, CEOs and COOs, about how to transition back. Can you put what we've been talking about so far with this need to be, this respect and the need to be liked in with how do I get back to work? How do I get back to normal following this principle? Does that work?
Well, I think demanding that people return to work doesn't work because there's a lot of remote jobs available today. But in this gentleman's case, he said he wanted them back to work. He was very open to listening to any discussion about if somebody had an issue. He also talked, now he's got, I think, 60 to 70 employees. He spoke with every employee individually about what they were going to be, what he was going to be doing with regard to back to work. And he said, and there were some who were not real happy about it, but they're there. He said there's a couple that have some issues with childcare and also with COVID, and they're not there. They're still working remotely. And I'll tell you, I was in his office this week, and you could feel the vibes now of people being there and working. And it's a very positive vibe.
Good. Is there, as we end this, are there just like, if you would sum this up, are there just maybe 3, 4, maybe 5, just like quick tidbits for people to be thinking about with what you said in going back and getting back to this, what we were calling normal?
Well, I think number one, you really have to take your employees' temperature. And I think what this gentleman did was smart, because he spoke with each one individually. Sometimes you have enough employees that you really can't do that, but if you can, that's great. I think you need to be understanding. As he said to me, in fact, this kind of sums it up. He said to me, he said, 18 months this has been going on. He said, I'm a much different person than I was in 2019. Because now he's got to really, and not that he didn't think about his employees before, but now he really has to think about keeping his employees. What does he have to do to keep them? He's got, salespeople work on commission. And in most cases, salespeople get a limited salary and they make their money on their commissions. Well, in this company, there weren't much in the way of commissions because business didn't come to a halt, but it slowed down quite a bit. So he increased temporarily, he increased their salaries to get them at least close to where they would have been had they been making commission. That cost him a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he knew that he had to keep these people engaged. He had to make sure that they stayed happy, that they didn't want to leave. And so he did what he had to do. He gave bonuses to people. He obviously had to raise hourly wages with his hourly people. And I guess the downside of that is because it's so difficult to find people that he has had to put up with some underperforming people that normally he would not have kept. But until there's people out there who want to work, he has no choice. Mm-hmm. So I think you need to be, to me, I think you need to be very sensitive to what your employees are feeling. And try to understand their situation. I think you want to make sure that they stay engaged in the company. I don't think you can just mandate that everybody has to come back on such and such a date. He is willing to compromise with a few people. But when people are there, when they're in the office, they're collaborating, they're talking to each other, water cooler talk, whatever you want to call it. But that's how business gets done.
And everybody's still held accountable, whether they're remote or in
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is some good tips as always, Dick. I really appreciate that. But before we get off, I mean, most people know, listening to this and listening to stuff I do, I'm a big believer in the power of the group. And you've been doing Vistage now for a long time. I think I've known you 12, 13 years going on now, and really have improved under your guidance, but as part of that group that we have. I mean, the power of that group, we always talk about the power of peers is big. I would ask you just to give a little shout out actually to yourself, to let people know what you do and how to get a hold of you in case they're interested. So any leader listening, listen up, and how to get a hold of this man. I'm sure he would take some time to meet with you. Sure.
Well, first of all, the organization that I'm contracted to is called Vistage Worldwide, VISTAGE. And basically what we do is we bring groups of leaders of companies in a non-competitive environment. And they come to this group every month for a full day to talk about the issues that they can't talk to anybody else about. And there are a lot of those issues. It's a safe environment. Everybody signs a confidentiality pledge. And in addition to that, I spend up to 2 hours every month, one-on-one with each of them, helping them to resolve their issues, helping them to surface issues, and holding them accountable for the things that they say they're going to do. We have probably one of the topmost speakers bureaus in the country. We have over 1,000 speakers in that bureau, and most of them are keynote caliber speakers. In fact, Eric, you're a Vistage speaker. But when they come to a Vistage group, they don't come to do a speech. They come to do an interactive workshop, and that's the way we do it. I have members who are going on 20 years in Vistage. I have a lot of members who have been in for more than 10 years. And they wouldn't be spending the money, not that it's that expensive, but they wouldn't be spending the money if they weren't seeing results from their investment. And it really is, it's an investment in yourself as a leader and in your company. Oh, if you want to reach me,
yeah,
Dick Singer 8585 at gmail.com or 412-576-8049.
Yeah, thank you. And then if you didn't get that, just get in touch with us. I'll put you right in touch with this man. It's made a world of difference for me. Give him a really hard time, but love him to death. Dick, thanks for being on again.
You're welcome.
Always good. Hopefully people will take some of this advice and use it as we get back to, I guess, what we call normal. Okay. Guys, that's all for today. Really appreciate you listening, paying attention, watching. Don't forget, we appreciate when you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you get notified when we post next. You can also visit us at centerforvictory.com. And remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. We'll see you next time.